Hey, this is Michael Emery. Thanks for tuning into the Slow Baja. This podcast is powered by Tequila Fortaleza, handmade in small batches and hands down my favorite tequila. Well, if you've been listening to me for a while, you know I'm an absolute minimalist when it comes to Baja travel. But the one thing I never leave home without is a good old paper map. And my favorite is the beautiful, and I mean beautiful, Baja Road and Recreation Atlas by Benchmark Maps. It's an oversized 72-page book, jam-packed with details, and now you can get it from me at slowbaja.com. That's right. You can get it in the Slow Baja shop, and in fact, you better get two. One for your trip planning at home and one for your Baja rig. And if you love maps and you can't get enough of them like me, let me tell you about two sites I am absolutely obsessed with. Eastview MapLink and longitudemaps.com. Whatever you're looking for in maps, it's there. From the entire Benchmark collection to Baja wall maps to custom maps, you'll find it all at longitudemaps.com or evmaplink.com. You know, I've long said it, ask your doctor if Baja's right for you. Well, if you've been hankering to get down to Slow Baja with me, you got to check out the Adventures tab at slowbaja.com. All my trips are there, from my famed fall vintage extravaganza to my winter and summer expeditions, which are open to trucks of any age. You know, on a Slow Baja expedition, your meals are always included, which really does take the sting out of camping. And when we get off the trail, let me tell you, we have the happiest of happy hours. If good dirt roads, private campsites, ranch stays, great food, and great people sounds like your kind of fun, well, you got to check out the Adventures tab at slowbaja.com. But don't delay. These trips are small, they're highly immersive, and they will sell out. And folks, just so you know, I am always here for you for your Baja trip planning questions. One question, 100 questions. The easy way to get me is slowbaja.com/contact. And if you'd like to go to Baja and you don't want to go by yourself, you don't have a vintage vehicle, my winter trip doesn't work out for you, I am happy to talk to you about organizing and leading a private guided tour. I've done it. I've loved it. The pictures are over there at slowbaja.com/adventures, and you can check them out. And if you've got some questions, let's talk. Thanks for tuning in to today's Slow Baja. My heaping dose of gratitude goes out to Toby Pond at Shieldman USA. Yep, he is the guy. He's the connection that you need to get the greatest seats in the world under your backside, in your rig, in your Baja truck. I've got him in both my Land Cruisers now, and I am super excited to say my old FJ40, that's right, Slow Baja OG, will be in the Shieldman booth at Overland Expo Pacific Northwest, June 26th, 27th, 28th. So come by, say hello to Frank, say hello to me, check out the Shieldman seats that have been in there for like 3 or 4 or 5 years now. Absolutely amazing. I'm going to drive 2,600 miles on those seats to get my truck into Toby's booth and get it back to San Diego, and I can't wait. So thanks, Toby. My heaping dose of gratitude, Shieldman USA. Okay, today's show is with Chris Collard. Chris Collard just came back from my Slow Baja Vintage Expedition. He is an off-road motorsports Hall of Fame journalist. He's also on the board of directors there, and he is one cool cat. He doesn't really brag, but he could, because he's traveled to all 7 continents. He's an amazing wealth of information on adventure and travel in Baja. And without further ado, it's Chris Collard today on Slow Baja. And just a quick note, this conversation went on so long that I broke it in 2 parts. So you're going to get 2 weeks in a row of Chris Collard, Adventure Architects on Slow Baja. There's so much going on here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 cameras, redundant microphones, 2 guys who've been doing this a long time, and I say I don't know anything.
So we certainly hope it works.
If
it doesn't work, we're going to fire each other.
Exactly. Well, I'm just delighted to be here in beautiful Colfax, California at Adventure Architects headquarters with Chris Collard. Can't believe it.
Yeah. We've been talking about this for like 3 years.
3 years. I was just going to say, I've been chasing you around for 3 years. Baja, Vegas, our last Baja trip, the Slow Baja Vintage Expedition.
We were supposed to do it down there.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that I'm here. It's a beautiful day. It's the end of April, and the blue skies, puffy clouds. My dog's asleep. Your dog's asleep. We're drinking coffee, and I can't wait to get into talking to you about why adventure matters. Now, you've got Adventure Architects. You've based your business on adventures, and I've done a little research on you. You've traveled all 7 continents.
I have been very, very fortunate. Yeah.
Well, let's hop into a little bit about your travels. Before we get into that, I've had a burning question since I saw this picture of you. I don't know, you're 5, 6 years old, and you're sitting on your dad's greaves, and your dad's with you, right? Like you're sitting in front of him, maybe
my dad,
kind of half humping up on the tank, and it's what year would that have been? 1970 or something?
I was probably about 3 years old, so that would have been like 66, 67, and that was a Greaves 250.
So that tells me your dad did some cool stuff in the dirt, and that's where I'd love to start. So where did Chris Collard start, and what were the inputs from your folks? Did you hike? Did you do fun stuff in the dirt? Obviously, your dad had a Greaves back in the 60s. That's like Steve McQueen on any Sunday stuff.
Yes to all the above.
All right. Well,
dirt, playing in the dirt, hiking, backpacking in the Sierra Nevada. That Greaves 250, that from that photo, I ended up, I didn't. My dad ended up later in the year, he and a couple of friends, they heard about this new race that was going from Barstow to Vegas.
The B2V.
B2V. And he was like raced the first B2V on that bike.
Wow.
Didn't make it very far. I think he made it like 50 miles, and he thought he was going, just amazingly fast and passing everybody on these side routes. And then suddenly he realized the side route ended, and he went down a canyon, and it was the end of his race.
Yeah.
But I've just been super fortunate. My dad loved the outdoors, still loves the outdoors. He's still with us. And we did a lot of stuff riding out in the Mojave Desert, just you name it, anywhere in the Southern California area. We were out there. I was out there digging holes and sitting in them and playing in the dirt. And then when I was 5, I got my first mini bike. So I kind of grew up on those.
Wow. California kid.
Yeah. And which is interesting because we lived less than a mile from the beach in Solana Beach. So it was either the beach or the desert.
One of the most beautiful places in the world, especially, I can't imagine it then before everything was built.
In the 70s, yeah.
Yeah, as everything was being built.
It was still, normal people could afford to live there.
Yeah, exactly.
But that was, like I said, we did a lot of backpacking up in the Sierras, around Mount Whitney area, Lone Pine, Bishop, Chocolate Lake, Sloan Lake, and being, loving to ride, my dad found Baja. So it's literally, 30 miles to the south, you could cross the border and head down to Ensenada or San Felipe or San Quintin. And so those were our camping trips with motorcycles and surfboards.
So I guess Dad had a truck. So we're starting there.
We had he had a couple of trucks.
So the motorcycle would have gone in the back of the truck?
In a trailer, yeah.
Oh, in a trailer, okay.
Which was another truck bed that was cut up and made into a trailer.
Sure. Yeah, of course. And did you have in those days, again, you're deep, we're going to get into this, you're deep in the overland, world, publishing and photographing articles. Did you guys have anything comfortable then when you went into the dirt? What was your setup? What did you sleep on in those days?
We slept on in an old military canvas tent.
Of course.
My dad was a Marine. And
did you have cots?
The bags that we had, no cots. No we slept, we didn't have cots. What are cots? No, we slept on the ground. We laid the sleeping bags out, and hopefully we were in like a sandy area, or we'd rake the rocks out of the way. But he had a couple of old green, I'm pretty sure they were from when he was in the Marines, but they would zip together. Big, green canvas sleeping bags. They were canvas, but yeah, very, old Coleman stove, old, gas, white gas, Coleman lantern. And, kind of at the time, they didn't have all the stuff that people have today.
Sure.
So,
but
we thought we had everything.
I'm already smelling the inside of that tent, and I'm smelling those sleeping bags, and there's a canvassy, slightly musty smell to that stuff under the best of circumstances.
Yeah.
And then the white gas, you said, and so you're pumping that up, and it's hissing and popping a little bit, and the light is flickering. Yeah. That's it. Camping.
Sometimes
when
you're
young.
getting the camp stove going, you lose some eyelashes or whatnot.
So you had a solid foundation of being in the dirt. We're getting into how you became Mr. Adventure.
Well, I don't know if I'd be called Mr. Adventure. It's just something I gravitated towards. I mean, I think most people know when I was in college, I worked at UPS at night in the warehouse and ended up taking a driving job and did that for 13 years. And I realized, like, I'm going to die emotionally if I stay. And I, during that entire time, I was involved with the 4-wheel drive scene and had started.
So you had gone to high school here in the Sacramento area, right? Yeah. So you got into the 4x4 off-road scene, Rubicon, all that stuff.
Right. It's kind of where we learned to drive.
Right.
And as far as like technical terrain, which I didn't realize at the time, was known around the world as like the place to go. And it was our backyard. Had you stayed in Solana Beach or maybe spent more time in El Cajon, you could have been a dirt bike racer of renowned, no teeth, but you might have been the fastest kid in El Cajon. I'm sure that if we stayed down there, that it would have, the off-road stuff would have transitioned more into, desert racing and that type of thing, more Baja stuff. But we moved up here like right before high school.
Right. Right.
But I also learned that there were all kinds of things in the mountains and the desert and snow skiing and of course when I got my first 4-wheel drive, which you saw earlier, I still have it, old 82 Toyota. The natural thing was, well, where do people go? We started going off in finding the trails around here. So Rubicon was just one of them. There's
a lot of trails.
Yeah.
A lot of trails, snow, mud, dirt, all that, depending on what time of year you're going, and great fishing and other things here. That's why people live here, right?
Yeah. A lot to do. There's a lot to do. So to answer your question in kind of a roundabout way, I don't know. It's just, some people love to do other things, play video games or play golf or, play tennis or do whatever. And I did some of that stuff, in high school. It was kind of obligatory to play sports. But I was like, man, as soon as I got wheels on the car, it's like, I'm going to go find other stuff
Explore.
Yeah.
In the days of our youth, what year did you graduate from high school?
81.
81, so a couple years ahead of me. You'd see stuff in a magazine, and you'd want to go check that stuff out.
That's right. So in high school, I was into hot rods.
So was everybody in those days.
Isn't that right?
Yeah.
My first car was a 71 Vega with a 350 4-bolt main in it, and then after I wrecked that, as the story goes. But I was also fortunate in that, I'd been exposed like to Baja and the desert and doing stuff with my dad. And we moved up here when we found Nevada. And, Nevada's just this wide open place to ride dirt bikes.
Right. Very Baja-like in those days.
Yeah. And to an extent, it still is.
Yeah.
It's, I can drive from where we're sitting. I can drive over to Grass Valley and get to Colorado on almost all dirt roads.
Amazing.
And so, you touched on the overland thing. And nobody ever called it overlanding. It was just camping.
Going camping.
Car camping.
Yeah, going camping.
But that term has been around, of course, for hundreds and hundreds of years. Everybody seems to think it was just originated recently, and it's not. That Marco Polo, days of Marco Polo, he went overland to Mongolia,
right,
to China. He either went overland or he went oversea.
Yeah, by horse, by camel, by foot.
Yeah. So it, it kind of just, for me, it was just like a natural transition into the vehicles and a 4-wheel drive, and we got a train coming.
It's all right. We got a dog. We got a train. The microphones are good. We're going to work right through this.
Right. So I was fortunate that I was exposed to a lot of stuff when I was younger, and I don't know, this was my nature. I wanted to go see more stuff. And as soon as, I had I know you're the Slow Baja guy, and I've done a lot of traveling down there, but, there was a period between when I was younger And when I became an adult, that I didn't go to Baja. And finally, it was like, I guess I was about 26 or so, and had some friends that are like, we all decided, let's go back down, let's go to Baja. They had never been there. And then it just kind of reinstilled my interest in the peninsula. And then
there's so much there.
I've been back at least every year, at least once, sometimes 2 or 3 times. Always trying to find new routes that I haven't done.
Yeah. And so, when I first connected with you after the NORA, probably 2022, I think you were driving in my tracks on some dirt road, wondering who this was because they're fresh tracks. And when you finally caught up to me, you said, you ran over a baby rattlesnake, which I was not aware of. But you were following my tracks and wondering who was making them.
Yeah, that was the road from, I was in one of my favorite little stealth camps on the road that goes to Bay of LA from Mex 1, and then cuts across to back to the highway where the track from Cali Canyon comes out.
Right.
That long, it goes up through the mining district. And I saw some set of tracks in front of me. I'm like, man, those are fresh. Got out and sniffed them. They were almost warm.
And so when I hit the pavement there, I think it was at Rancho Grande Market, I saw Tim and Kelsey's truck. So I swung in because I saw their truck, and then you swung in because you saw their truck and my truck and said, that's the guy making the tracks. Yeah. And you had a real flex, if I recall. I was doing my best. I had the bottle of Fortaleza, but you brought out the Baja Almanac and laid that out, and we started talking about things. And I said, I really like this Chris Collard guy. I'd heard all about you, but once I saw you in person, you were not afraid to take a sip of fine tequila at that 3 o'clock somewhere spot. And I know you're used to drinking stuff that's not quite as good as Fortaleza, but you'll step up when you have to if somebody else is pouring. But we got the almanac out, and I had the almanac it's still in my toolbox in the back there, all wrapped up in a military vinyl case. And I think we solved every Baja problem of the day.
Most of them.
Yeah, most of them. Tim and Kelsey are great too.
Like world hunger and, homeless issue in there.
Something like that.
The biggest thing was, where was that next shot of Fortaleza tequila coming from?
Yeah, it's hard stuff to find now. Those days it wasn't that hard. I was carrying, I think, 4 cases on that trip, but it's getting quite hard to find these days. But so you got down to Baja, and you've been going to Baja, as you said, every year since. But again, I'm not going to unnecessarily inflate your ego, but coast to coast in Australia, Antarctica, again, you've 7 continents. So you've been everywhere, man, as they say. I know I talked to you, you were down and you answered my call and you were in Uruguay.
Yeah, that was the last couple months ago.
Yeah, and you keep a 4Runner down there.
I do. Yeah, and so, I own a 4Runner with a friend of mine in South America. This
vehicle right behind us, now you weren't on the 1978-79 trip, but you were on the 20th anniversary. You took some vehicles down there with Mark Smith, if I recall our earlier conversation, you were his UPS driver or something? And
I was Mark's UPS driver.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about that. So here's, again, getting back to those legends that we saw in the magazines. Again, you're a few years older than I am, so I don't know if you're sitting at the 7-Eleven or your magazine stand, but to see like the turtle expeditions, man, like that was wow. People are doing that. Wow. And to drive, the length of the Pan American Highway and go through the Darien, that was wow. And so you're delivering to this legend, and he's a legend. Most people don't know who he is or what he did unless they're Jeepers.
So, Michael, when I like I said, in the 80s, when we'd go up on the Rubicon, of course, everybody knew about Jamboree. We knew about this expedition, De las Americas. We knew about Mark. And we'd be up there and we'd hear rumors like, hey, we heard Mark Smith is might be up here somewhere. And we're like, oh, wow, hey, like how, man, I hope I get to meet him. And then, 10 years later, I'm his UPS driver. And, he found out that I was into the 4-wheel drive scene and asked if I wanted to work on events with him, so around the country. So flying into North Carolina or Texas or Idaho and being like working with him and Merlin as like one of the staff guys. And I'm like, wow, this is, it was pretty cool. I've been, fortunate enough to be in the right place at the right time. And so many times, just, by putting yourself out there, racing with Rod Hall.
We're going to get into that.
Oh.
We're going to get into that in a big way.
It's, so I look back and I'm like, why did all these people even want to talk to me? But they did. And it turned into some amazing stuff. So Mark wasn't on the 1998 trip. That was actually put together by Al Grimm, who used to own this vehicle. And that was 6 weeks in South America. So
20th anniversary of.
It's a 20th anniversary of
the big trip.
And we're coming up on the 50th anniversary in 2028. So 2 years. So interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy that it's been 50 years. So I felt super lucky. And then, I left UPS, but Mark would continue to call.
A little bit.
I'm sorry?
Mark was a little bit integral in having you evaluate what you were doing with your time.
Oh, he did.
And your life and your income. And you had a desire to step up and be a photographer. But, that's not an easy job. Yeah. Nobody's had the sign out, freelance photographers wanted, come work for us.
Nobody.
You got to go hustle it.
Nobody.
Yeah.
And you might have heard that story before, but Mark really.
I think we talked about it.
Yeah. We were on a flight and he was kind of drilling me on what do you want to do with your life? You going to be a UPS guy or, what's up? And, I shared with him my dreams and he's like, and he had a way about him. He wasn't from the South. He was actually from Kimberly, Nevada, which is near Ely. But he had kind of a Southern drawl to the way he talked. And he was like, well, what the F are you going to do?
Yeah. Get off your
ass and do something. Yeah. Because nobody's going to do it for you. And
isn't that the truth? Nobody's going to do it for you.
I really had... I always appreciated Mark being that candid with me and honest. It's like, well, kid, get off your ass and do something. And another friend of mine, Jody, who we've been friends since we were both 18, 19. And he would see me in a UPS truck and we'd talk and be like, hey, buddy, how's it going? And I'm like, oh, it's going, it's all right. And he's like, how's that big brown piece of crap truck you're in? It's 130 degrees in there, right? And he would just tell me, it's like, dude, you're wasting your life. And so I've always been appreciative of the people that really pushed me to do something, to jump off the bridge with literally no parachute.
Yeah.
So
we're going to take a quick break right here, and we'll be right back with Chris Collard. Here at Slow Baja, we can't wait to drive our old Land Cruiser south of the border. And when we go, we'll be going with Baja Bound Insurance. Their website's fast and easy to use. Check them out at bajabound.com. That's bajabound.com, serving Mexico travelers since 1994. Hey, big thanks to those of you who've contributed to our Baja Baseball project. We launched our gear deliveries on my winter expedition. Michael and Matthew from Barbers for Baja were along for the ride, and we got to deliver that critically needed baseball gear up and down the peninsula. It was really, truly amazing. All right, well, please help us continue this vital work. Make your tax-deductible donation at the Barbers for Baja. Click barbersforbaja.org. Click the Baseball in Baja link, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really do. It is so amazingly gratifying to be able to give these kids this chance to keep playing this sport, keep them on the field, keep them out of trouble. Please check it out. Baseball in Baja link at barbersforbaja.org. Thank you. I want to tell you about these new Rocky Talkie radios that I absolutely love. Heavy duty, beautifully made, easy to program, easy to use. We had 28 people, 15 trucks on the Slow Baja Winter Expedition. You can hand these radios to anybody from a 14-year-old kid to an 80-year-old, and they'll know how to use it. They are that well designed. One charge lasted the entire week. We are never out of range. I happened to upgrade to the accessory whip antenna for my radio and for my sweeps radio, the Donovan brothers. We were never out of contact. I can't say it strongly enough. Rocky Talkie radios, rockytalkie.com. Check them out. Slow Baja approved. the proverbial jumping off of the bridge. You've got Mark Smith, this legendary jeeper, pushing you a little bit. You should chase your dream.
Yeah.
And how did that first shoot go? How did that, how did it play out for you to shoot a story and see it through to publication?
Well, I did some digital stuff for a friend of mine that had a website called 4x4 Wire. But the first print magazine piece that I did was actually on the 1998 20th anniversary expedition. And it was like super exciting, It's like, hey, see my stuff in print. I'm on the byline. And, from a financial standpoint, being a freelance writer, well, I'm going to back up.
Financials don't matter. I mean,
yeah.
There's no sense in embarrassing you or I about how little we made in those days. Yeah.
No, but I bought a book at Barnes & Noble's bookstores. You used to go and you'd actually buy books, and you'd buy magazines off the news rack.
Exactly.
But there was a book from a guy named John Shaw. He's a very accomplished National Geographic photographer, and he had a book called The Business of Nature Photography. I bought it, and I'm reading through it. Now, mind you that I've been an editor of a magazine. I've written for publications all around the world, blah, blah, blah. English is my least best subject growing up in school.
Yeah, sure.
I'm like, it was horrible.
Yeah, colons, semicolons.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, where do you put what?
Two, and two. It's like, what? Or there, and there. So basically his message, one of the messages I got from reading his book was that if you are an amazing photographer and you want to sell that one of your images, the best way to do it is with a great story. Mm-hmm. And basically keying into the transition, this is 25 years ago or better than that the way for the future is that you need to turn it you need to have a turnkey package for whoever you're working for, or if you're going to pitch something. So you need to be able to write the story. You need to be able to put people in the seat, in the parachute, on the windsurfer, whatever you're writing about, and accompany it with some great images, because that's what you got to do. So that was a good lesson. I went back to school. I went back and took English classes, punctuation, grammar, sentence structure. Did I learn anything? I don't know, but I realized.
But you were taking it seriously, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
You were taking it seriously.
That's right.
Yeah. Didn't have Grammarly or whatever people use now.
They did not. We did not have that.
And
I actually bought my first computer when I was writing the story on the 1998 South America thing. I'm like, I guess I better spend $1,200 on this new computer. So it was like a big thing.
Yeah. Laptops are $2,500 in the old days.
A lot of money back then.
Yeah, there's a lot of money. Hey, well, let's get into those travels. So again, we're going to get to Baja, which is so important to both of us. And that's the reason I'm interested in being here today. But adventures. So you got off in 98 and did this trip to South America. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to humble brag about you for a second. So you're a few years older than me, three-ish years, based on when you graduated from high school and when I graduated. I don't know if
they held me back. Like
I was going to say,
years.
I don't know if you got held back a few times. I didn't want to say that. Talking to Johnny Johnson, I said, "Weren't you and Lynn classmates?" Yeah, but I got held back one year. So, I had my first photo published when 1981. When I was a high school kid, cover of a weekly newspaper, and made $25, and I thought I was hot stuff. And you started after a career in driving UPS, 1998. You're getting into your first published work, correct?
I was 37 when I quit UPS.
Yeah. So, and then I'm just saying, it's like Star Wars when you go into hyperspace. You somehow parlayed all this into getting into the Off-Road Motorsports Hall of Fame in almost no time. Well, you did some amazing stuff between 98 and, getting recognized and inducted into the Hall of Fame. And let's get into a little bit. I don't want to put you on the spot because you're a pretty humble guy, but all over the world. Let's talk a few. Just walk me through some of those.
So one of the things I realized is I'm nobody. Nobody knows me. I'm not well published, et cetera. But I realized, I've always, everybody dreams of travel, and I had to figure out how to do it and
on somebody else's nickel.
Well, hopefully.
You're trying.
So there was an event called the ARB Outback Challenge Broken Hill, Australia. And it was sponsored by 3 companies. And I reached out to the companies. I said, "Hey, I'm Chris. I'd had stuff published, but would you like to help cover my airfare to get there? 3 ways. It's $500 a piece." 2 of them blew me off. It's funny because I ended up working a lot with those companies. I said actually an ambassador for one of them for a while later, but Jim Jackson at ARB said, "Yeah, sure, I'll cover 3 ways." So I was able to fly there. They covered me. The event covered me once I was boots on the ground. But before that, I had just maybe a year and a half before that, I had stepped in front of a photographer at SEMA who was photographing Gary and Monica Westcott's turtle expedition vehicle, which, by the way, lived like 20 miles from here.
No, I've got to get an introduction and go meet them. They spent so much time in Baja.
They are coming back from South America in the next
I saw them on the road in Baja. We passed each other. They were stoic looking out that front window. They weren't waving at some guy in an FJ40. I was waving at them, but they weren't waving at me. They were focused.
So other people that are like, sidetracked, but they were legends. I mean, we all would great four-wheeler magazine and wait to see where Turtle Expedition was going. End up being very good friends with them. And like I said, they live close. So back to the Outback Challenge, I had bumped in front of this guy's photograph, and he reaches. I said, "Oh, excuse me," and he says, "Oh, it's okay, it's okay."
A Russian guy.
And I said, "My name is Chris. Where are you from?" He reaches out his hand, shake my hand, and he says, "Andre, editor of 4x4 magazine, Moscow." And Michael, it flicked on a light in my head because I'd been selling articles to one outlet, making one sale, and I'm like, we need to talk. So I spent several years tracking down every publication I could find in a different part of the world. South Africa, Japan, Australia, you name it, France, Germany, Italy, Great Britain, Spain, Netherlands, Finland. They all have different publications in different languages, so I'm not going to tee anybody off.
Yeah, you're not impacting the rights of first rights in North
different
America.
Market, different, exactly. So I did that first event
That's back when people used to retain the rights to their works, kids. You can look that up in Wikipedia.
Michael, I have the rights to everything I've ever done.
I don't doubt that.
Every photograph I've ever taken, all the OEM stuff, I still own the rights to all that stuff. That's how I work. Yeah, sorry for that aside of how copyright used to work. So I did this thing in Australia, and I sent it out to like 8 or 9 different international publications. And of course, the event thought that was awesome. For sure. They're getting huge exposure. The people that put on the event, not only that, and the 3 companies that sponsored the event. And then when I wanted to go to the next event, I reached out to the promoter. I said, "Hey, I'm Chris. I'm a Yahoo journalist from the United States. I'm interested in your event. And by the way, this is the stuff I did.
Here's the 25 clips
for the last one."
Right.
And it just it went from there.
Smarter than the average bear.
I don't know. I was just winging it,
Yeah.
But, and none of them, it's like, you're talking about money. None of them paid a ton.
No.
But
so we're getting back to the adventure thing. So you cultivated publications all over the world. But tell me about some of the stories that you were selling to these magazines, some of the adventures that took you all over the world.
So what I realized is once I'm boots on the ground in a country, with Australia or wherever, Morocco, once I'm there and I cover an event, it's like, do they have fishing here? Because there's fishing magazines in the United States that would be exotic to go fishing in Morocco or to go fishing in Australia.
Sure.
And so but that wasn't my focus, but I would stay in country for another couple weeks or whatever that time was, and I would source a vehicle, whether I could borrow it from somebody, whether I hired it, whatever that was, and then I would do an adventure story. Like I did the Outback Challenge a different year, and drove I flew over to Cairns and drove from Cairns to Darwin, all across the top end, all the developmental roads and everything. And that's a whole nother story that you can sell. So once you're there, it's like, do as much as you can.
Yeah, well, when I saw you, the earlier trip that we referenced in Baja, you were taking something like 2 weeks to get back from Cabo after photographing the Nora.
Right.
And most people need to be back at work on Monday, so they're beelining it, 1,000 miles to get back up there. But I was delighted to see you and Susie, and you were just putting along in your Tacoma.
I was back at work the next day.
Yeah, well, remote.
Driving, taking pictures.
Right, exactly.
Camping.
Doing it's a job.
Sharing the experience.
It's a job,
that's
ma'am.
my job.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of what I realized. Like once I'm on, the Moroccan Outback Challenge, they brought me in for the event. And I scheduled a couple of weeks after the event. I was supposed to borrow a vehicle from them. Didn't work out. Actually, it got rolled over. I happened to be in it when that happened.
It wasn't your fault.
No.
You were a passenger, and the driver was.
Yeah.
You lost control of the vehicle.
No, it was a previous race car. They had seatbelts in the front, but they didn't have seatbelts in the back.
Yeah.
And I was in the back. So we were all very lucky. Did a middle of the night. I didn't speak French, but the driver said something in French, and later I found out he said no steering. So
that's critical. That's right up there with no brakes.
Yeah. Two things that'll kill you: no brakes, your steering, and your brakes.
Well, you're quite reluctantly. You've got the brakes on and telling me more places that you've been, but I know you've been a few places. Antarctica is a place that nobody's basically been. Maybe my friend Kurt Williams has been there, probably on the same trip that you went.
No, Kurt wasn't on that trip.
Kurt wasn't on that
he did
section.
That was part of Expedition 7.
Right. Yeah. I know Kurt was on Expedition 7, but not on the Antarctic
I think he
leg.
Did, he might have done I think he did the Russian.
Yeah, Russian. And the Australian, of course. He did the Australian part. Yeah.
And at that time, I was the editor of the magazine, Overland Journal, which was, a huge undertaking. I mean, we had 130 pages that we had to fill, and I was kind of a, one-man show for the most part. And so I realized, because I did have the opportunity to do the leg across Russia and South America and stuff, but I just didn't have time to do it and be able to continue to put the magazine together like it should be.
Right.
But the one that was on my list, and I had talked to Scott Brady. It's like the one that I really, really wanted to do is Antarctica, and I was able to do that. And it was, super fortunate. It's like, we went out of Cape Town.
I'm just going to say back up for a second. So Expedition 7, Greg Miller wants to take one. Greg Miller, Larry Miller's son, family fortune of car dealerships, and wants to take one Land Cruiser around the world, all 7 continents,
right.
Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Pick it up from there. So you're at the magazine.
Yeah. So that all
Overland
started
Journal.
at a barbecue in Paul May's backyard. So he owns Equipped out of Salt Lake City, and
of course,
and Greg
Miller's
was there.
in Salt Lake City.
Yeah, I mean, the Overland crowd was there, and so the conversation got started between Scott and Greg, and it kind of went from.
Could you do it? Is it possible?
Well, it didn't start as going around the world. It was started going across the Americas or something like that, and then kind of morphed into all 7 continents. And so it was amazing. I mean, Greg had the means to put that together financially, and I will always eternally be grateful that I was able to be part of that project, especially Antarctica, because it was pretty darn awesome. Yeah. I mean, it's not for everybody. I mean, camping in 40 below.
My wife's from North Dakota. There's cold all over the world.
Well, funny because we didn't have. There wasn't any Starlink.
First time I went there it was 80 below. So I know it wasn't quite as cold up there.
It was like 40 below.
Yeah.
And that I found out that's actually where the centigrade and Fahrenheit charts kind of come together, right around 40 below. But somewhere we posted a satellite, Facebook something or other, social media something, and somebody came back from North Dakota and said, that's not cold.
That's as my father-in-law used to say, there's an entire country north of us and they're not complaining about the weather.
That's right. Yeah. I'm like, yeah.
It's cold
so
enough.
It was my friend Sean Solberg, actually.
It's cold enough for me. That's for sure.
He was my medical editor. Great guy. And I'm like, yeah, dude, but you're not camping in a tent.
Exactly.
You're not sleeping in a tent.
Exactly. Yeah. So that must have been something, honestly. And again, I camp in Baja, and that's the full extent of my camping. I'm not a big camper. Camping in Antarctica in a tent, Break that down for me.
So there's an old saying that there is no bad weather. There's bad clothing.
If you're prepared, you're prepared.
So having the right equipment is a pretty big deal. And we did have the right equipment. You were mentioning, some of the aluminum storage boxes that we used, Nemo tents. We had an Arctic oven double tent. So we actually had individual tents that we thought we were going to use. We did that the first rest period. So when I say rest period, it's because we would drive for 20 hours.
It's daylight all the time.
It's daylight,
right? Yeah.
24/7.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we would rest for 10. And when you rested, you made water, which is melting ice. You ate, set up a potty, you went to the bathroom, and then you slept. So the first rest period, that is, we finally got up on the plateau, which ranges from 8,000 to 11,000 feet, which is quite a bit colder than sea level where we landed in Novo, which was an ice runway that was not exactly straight and not exactly level. And the girl from Antarctic Logistics we were working with, she was French, I think, and she goes, "Oh, it's okay. It's not straight and it's not level, but it's kind of like a worm. But the pilots, they drink some vodka before they land, and so they're very relaxed. It will be fine."
It'll be fine. It was fine, right?
Yeah.
It was fine.
It was fine.
Yeah.
So
what are you worried about?
The single tents.
You flew, right? You were a pilot when you were much younger.
Yeah.
Did that kind of stuff scare you? Did you get a look in the cockpit? Because you would have been strapped in the back with all the cargo.
Well,
so probably
it was a cargo plane.
not in view of
I was able
stuff.
to. I was able to go up there, but not into the cockpit.
Right.
I could take a look in. I actually wanted to, I wanted to actually get down into the navigator's bulb down below for the landing, but she was like, "No, you can't do that." So we're pretty much blind. They have a live movie screen going from a camera in the front of the plane, but you don't see a lot.
You cannot verify if there was some vodka being.
I'm sure there
taken.
was.
Taken. It's just part of the culture.
As long as they were relaxed.
Sweeping generalizations here.
Yeah. What are you going to do?
All right. So you landed on this runway.
Did the prep, got on. So it was below a place called Thor's Hammer. So you finally get up on the plateau, and it's in the glacier fields is where all the ice is flowing off of the top of the plateau. And that's the dangerous spot. Once you get up on the plateau, there's not a lot of crevasses. But where the ice is flowing down like a river, there are. And so the guys at Arctic Trucks and Geesley from Arctic Trucks was with us. He was kind of like the expert guide guy. And they had gone and they'd actually done a ground penetrating sonar route all the way up to the top.
Crevasse free,
That's
hopefully.
what we were tracking, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But there were times it's like when you get out, everybody's tethered to the vehicle if you get out. But there were times where, and this is before I had drones, there were times where it's like, I got to get up there. And I just untethered myself and grabbed my ice stick and hiked up there. Was it smart? Probably not.
It's not like Baja where you're just going to climb up that little rise to see if there's a nice little place to camp.
But it was what I needed to do to get the shot that I thought I needed to get.
Yeah.
So, or the video, because I was also doing all the video for the trip. But just such a surreal place. It's once you get up there, you would think it's featureless, but it's not. There's Strategy, and I always pronounce that wrong. It's the ice sculptures that are made when the katabatic winds just blow across, and they can be from a few inches tall to 8 feet tall. And so you're just kind of threading your way, basically which direction? South. It's always south until you get to where it's 0, 0, 0, until you're at 90 degrees south and 90 degrees east and 90 degrees west. And that's at the Amundsen Scott South Pole Station, which if you haven't been there, it is massive. It will house 230 people. It's got a basketball gymnasium.
Do you ever like to just drop that? So when I was down at the Amundsen, down the South Pole, do you ever just drop that when you're chatting, overlanders up?
Not really.
No, it's kind of a big flex.
But yeah, anyway, fascinating place. And so people ask, it's I always wanted to go to Antarctica, and I tell them it's you can go. Just about anybody can go. and get paid to go, because there are jobs in Antarctica. Once we got to the South Pole, our goal was to get all the way across the continent to the Ross Ice Shelf, which we did. But while we were heading down there, we ran into the fuel train. And the fuel train is basically, not a regular conventional train with wheels. It's tracked vehicles. They got sledges. They've got these 4,000 liter bladders of diesel fuel, and they run twice a year from McMurdo up to South Pole Station.
And this is so the generators wherever at Edmonton or
all
whatever,
runs off of diesel.
They all run off of diesel.
They all run off of diesel.
Yeah.
So
wow.
we
I never thought about how did the diesel get there.
That's right. They drag it in on big sledges.
Astonishing.
But we ran into the fuel train, and I met a guy that was from Chico, just up the road, and he was I started to talk to him. And he goes, yeah, I'm a diesel mechanic, and I always wanted to go to Antarctica, so I just started looking at jobs, and they had a job for a diesel mechanic, so here I am.
Sure. Yeah.
So there are ways to do it.
All right. Well, enough about Antarctica. We're going to work our way around the globe to Baja and back to Rod Hall. But tell me about some of the other trips and other places that you've been.
Okay.
You mentioned Morocco, Outback Challenge, Australia.
I've been to Morocco a number of times.
Africa, obviously, a little bit. Tell me a little bit about Africa, because again, people are so afraid in the world that I live in. People, since I'm all Baja all the time, people are afraid to go to Baja. I've been to Africa. I went to Africa when I was 15 years old. I thought it was astonishing. It made me want to be a photographer.
It's incredible.
It's incredible. And it's different. It's so different from the animals to the slums to the, the wide open places with nobody to the places that have so many people. It's brutal. You're not used to that. We're not used to that level of everything on top of everything and on top of everything.
So if you're referencing Africa as a single continent, that's correct. But as a single area, absolutely not. It's like saying North America.
Sure. Could
range from Alaska to Panama.
Yeah.
So Africa is the same way. West Africa, Morocco, Angola. You get down to the south, and there's a lot of places that are fairly hot as politically, and going through those areas is a little, can be a little more sketchy. And areas that I haven't gone to, like the whole, the Horn of Africa, I've not been through those areas, which I'd like to. One day I'll maybe probably put a trip together going that way. But like the 9 or 10 Southern African countries are amazing. Zambia, Malawi, Kenya, Botswana, Lesotho, Swaziland. Who did I miss? Anyway, it's like the normal people can travel. I mean, my roommate.
You can fly and drive.
You can fly and drive.
Rent a car.
I've actually written skills articles on like, how do you do that? How do you fly into New Zealand and source a vehicle, or Australia or South Africa or Botswana or Malaysia? And you can do it.
Vietnam.
You can do it.
Get that scooter, get that moped. And
in Vietnam, you're not allowed to drive, but you can ride.
Yeah.
So it's, motorcycles. Yeah. I still don't think foreigners can drive vehicles in Vietnam, if I remember.
Well, all of that travel, all the way around the world, all those continents, what I would really wanted to talk to you about is what have you learned from that level of adventure? Now, again, I'm thinking about our current state of affairs. There's, people are screaming at each other in our country. We're highly polarized. I personally think that the more you travel, the more you're able to tolerate your neighbor.
Very, very good point. What have I learned in
I don't
travel?
want to put words in your mouth.
No.
You've been everywhere, man. So enlighten me.
I guess my take on it, Michael, is that I wish more Americans did travel and they would see the rest of the world, and I'm not talking about the canned experiences where somebody guides you around with a little umbrella and say, here, this is Dubrovnik, come walk through with us and we'll safely get you back on this cruise ship. I'm not cutting on cruise ship things.
Mm-hmm.
But
people like those, I hear.
I'm sorry.
People like cruise ships.
I know. I think it's great. And you can also learn a lot doing that. But when you spend time with your boots on the ground, having lunch in some little cafe in some little alleyway in the middle of Malaysia, like I was in Malaysia, and I was with a guy, a local guy. He's my tuk-tuk driver, Mr. Red. And actually, I'm sorry, Cambodia. And he says, "Oh, I can take you to some lunch." And he took me by some place, and it's where all the expats eat. And I'm like, "I don't want to eat here."
Right.
I'm like, "I want to eat where you eat.
Yeah.
Where would you go to eat?" And he looks at me a little funny. He's like,
"Are you sure?
You sure?" I'm like, "Yeah. Let's go eat where you want to eat. Where would you normally go to lunch?" And so we did, and it was a very local place. And they didn't have steaks on the menu. You had deep fried fish. It was semi-breaded, and there wasn't a lot of fish on it. It was more like picking whatever was left on the bones off, and some vegetables and some rice. But
hopping back to the Expedition 7 for a second, talking to Kurt Williams, he said the best nights he had on that trip were when they didn't plan their meal in camp and they had to go local. Mm-hmm. And he said that absolutely the best interactions they had on the entire trip, and his best memories were local dining with local people.
Absolutely. You got to mingle with the locals. I mean, and some of you might talk about memorable meals. For me, they're not a 5-star. None of them.
It's not the gourmet experience.
5-star.
It's the experience of the experience.
It is the experience of eating in a special place and with special people. It's just not. It's not a filet mignon and scampi or whatever else people order at 5-star restaurants. In Zambia, I was on my own. That trip, 2 of the trips I went to in Africa, I did with my college roommate Alan Andrews, who was working on his doctorate in Port Elizabeth. So, on the second one, I'd left him in Zimbabwe, and he flew out of Livingston. I had 5 weeks on my own. And I'm doing this trek through the bush on just a road I found on Tracks for Africa. Very remote, like no gringos or Mazungas, rich white guys, drove down. And I'm driving this red Hummer with stickers all over it. Middle of the night, I was just trying to stay off what they call the blood highway because it's
blood for a reason.
Yes,
people are gonna run you over. You're gonna get carjacked.
Yeah, it was
drunk drivers and carjackings.
Yeah, it was the route coming out of basically I was trying to get South Luangwa Park, National Park, and it was just 3 sides of a triangle. They said, "Do not drive that road at night." Told me all the stuff you're going to see. Well, I saw it all, and I stopped and I found a route that went through the bush. Ended up very remote. I mean, I'm driving through the very narrow 2-track. Guy on a bicycle shows up with a goat hanging off the back and rides by. He's like, puts up one hand, and then I see somebody else ride by. Anyway, finally at like 1 o'clock, I'm like, I need to find a place to sleep. Found an opening, set up the tent, and I thought I was alone until I saw this huge flash of flames from right across the track. And I was parked next to a small village. So there's rondavals, which are made of sticks with elephant dung packed all over the outside of them. So I had like instant friends the next morning.
And did they just want you to know that they're there?
They were giving me a signal.
Wow.
They were giving me a signal.
So here's the thing that people are so afraid of.
And it went up, and I
think immediately those people are going to rob you.
Oh no, they were.
And they probably made you breakfast.
They invited me for probably like their last bowl of meal, and they had nothing, absolutely nothing.
But it was yours, guest.
If you're a guest,
yeah.
I mean, that's what the incredible thing is that I write a column for OVR magazine, and I just wrote a column called it's called Notes from the Trail. Anyway, and I just wrote something about that, about cultural experiences where, no matter how fast we think we have to move as Americans, like I got a schedule. It's like, okay, I'm going to be here this day. It's like I'm in the middle of Morocco and somebody invites me for some tea in their house. You're going to say yes.
You better say yes.
And they're going to ask you about your family and your wife and your parents and their health, and talk about Allah and God, and you're going to reciprocate and they're not asking you that because because they don't care, because it's cultural. It's like you're a guest in their home, and they're gonna find out as much as they can. It's that it almost seems like it's scripted, because you'll find it in the next place you go, but it's not scripted. It's like it's cultural, and I wish more Americans could realize that when you travel, you look back at America and you're like, it is absolutely incredible. I mean, I'm always want to kiss the ground when I come back. But it is so incredible what we have, the opportunities that we have, the economics that we have. And we've got more stuff sitting in my shop here and the cars around. I would be embarrassed if most of these people knew that I have all this stuff.
The embarrassment of your riches. And you don't feel rich ever, do you?
Unless
you're in an African village.
Rich, but that's all relative.
Yeah.
It's relative to the family that's living in the, elephant dung rondavel in the middle of Zambia.
Right. Who's sharing their meal with you.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Chris Collard, and we're going to have part 2 of that conversation coming right up, probably inside of a week. Yeah, that's right. Chris is such a good dude, and I cannot believe that he came all the way home, 600 miles north of the border after the Slow Baja Vintage Expedition, and then turned right around, went back down, got that dog Cali, and Cali is just thriving. So great to see her running around Chris's place, got lots of room, very, very excited. Was very excited to see my dog Frank. Yeah, it just warms my heart. That was the third beautiful puppy to get adopted from the Slow Baja Vintage Expedition. Well, if you like what I'm doing, folks, it is time. I'm talking to you. That's right. I'm talking to you, Slow Baja listener. And there are lots and lots and lots of you, but I'm going to need you to drop a taco in the tank. You do that by going to slowbaja.com/donations. You pick out the number of tacos, 1, 2, 5, a whole tray. I'll take them all. How many tacos do you have? I need them. So drop a few in the tank. Keep me going to these folks' places. Chris had a, 7-8 hour round trip driving out to Chris's place in my old FJ40 that gets 10 miles to the gallon. Do you know what gas costs in California now? Holy Toledo, $6.50 a gallon. Man alive. Anyhow, if you like what I'm doing, you got to drop a taco in the tank, and I mean it. And if you don't have any tacos, well, I get it. Times are tough, and not everybody has tacos that they can share with Slow Baja. So I'm also talking to you taco-less folk. Drop a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. Tell people while you're listening to the show. I really do need you to do that, especially the folks without the tacos. Do that kindness for me. Do that solid. Get folks, share your passion for the show and get folks listening. I really need the help in that regard as well. Okay, enough of my groveling. There's some cool stuff in the store still, hats and tees and stickers. So help me out. Get some merch. Every piece of merch, whether it's a sticker on your truck or a hat on your head or a t-shirt, I get messages all the time about the great conversations that come out of that. Somebody sees the sticker, they say something. They saw it on a cup, they saw it on a water bottle, they saw it on the back of your truck. You want to talk Baja? Slap a Slow Baja sticker on your rig, or put a Slow Baja hat on your head, or a t-shirt on your back, or carry that amazing, amazing deluxe canvas bag. That thing is beautiful. And you can get all that stuff at the Slow Baja store. Okay, enough about that. I'll be back with another show before you know it, and it's going to be part 2, Chris Collard. And until then, let me tell you about Mary McGee. She's the coolest lady. She had a friend, Steve McQueen, who said, Mary, you got to get out to the desert and ride dirt bikes with me. And she did. And you know what? Steve loved Baja. And Steve said, Mary, Baja's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting. People always ask me, what's the best modification that I've ever made to Slow Baja? Without a doubt, it's my Shielman seats. Toby at Shielman USA could not be easier to work with. He recommended a Vario F for me and a Vario F XXL for my navigator Ted. This Ted's kind of a big guy, and Toby was absolutely right. The seats are great and they fit both of us perfectly. And let me tell you, after driving around Baja for over a year on these seats, I could not be happier. Shielman, Slow Baja approved. Learn more and get yours at shielman.com. I'm all about keeping things simple, traveling light, and finding the really good stuff. And that's why I've been wearing iron and resin for years. It's not just clothes. It's gear that holds up in the dust, the salt, the spilled tacos, and still looks good when you roll into town. Made in small batches, by folks who care. No flash, no fast fashion, just the kind of stuff that gets better the more you wear it. Check them out at ironandresin.com and pick up something that'll last the next 1,000 miles.